up, guys? Welcome back to the Public Course Golf Podcast, episode 19, right?
Yeah, 19.
19. We're almost at 20. But again, we are on location today. Beautiful day out at Wedgwood. And just like when we did the Long Ball Hard Iced Tea, we have another new sponsor for the channel. And we got a little care package from our friend, Mr. Sully, the Choosy guy out in Maryland, where I think you guys are going to like these. And I'm pretty sure there's one in here potentially for you guys.
Is this the exact same? We did this opening the last time in the exact same parking spot.
Literally the same spot.
Yeah, so this is now our unveiling parking spot at Wedgwood.
Look at this.
Look at that. Yeah, there are three.
The Choosy is called. You guys all like your hard koozies. You know, the ones you'll slide your White Claw and even a beer, the short stubby ones. These are the tall skinny ones. But you throw those in, keeps it cold a little bit longer. But this one's got a special little surprise in it. So let's fire this up.
Is that a picture of you on the side? Did they use it? No, it looks like me, kind of, I guess.
That looks like you in the middle of wintertime. Oh, so we got a little Choosy sticker.
All right, there you go.
Oh, I bet you can use this like a tumbler mug.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's got that top. Oh, yeah. Oh, and it comes with a straw for it.
There you go.
And what's this? This card? Yeah, the Choosy. So I'm gonna put this QR code. We'll get it nice and close. Maybe you guys can scan it. But we do have one to give away to you guys. Oh yeah, look at that. It's got a nice rubber top on it. You can put a nooner in there. You can put a neutral in there, which is probably what we're gonna do today.
Yep.
But you can use it as a tumbler with the top as well. But the special thing about these is kind of go like this. You got your Canada dips on you?
I forgot mine. Do you have some?
Let me see.
Oh, look at that. So we're taking a look here. Mike says this is how I look in the wintertime. Yeah, looks about right. I usually carry around like a kind of one of those, what's that called? A hammer or a wood bat that's
Big mallet.
And
Beat
like
people with it.
Yeah, and I usually, let's see, look at my eyes go away usually in the wintertime. I just look like a white face.
Don't have a suntan.
I'm an abominable snowman. No suntan.
So you got your traditional soft koozie, right?
Yep.
But now you got the hard one. I'm excited to try it as a cocktail as well. So the fun thing is, though, is we have one for me, one for PJ, and we got one to give away.
Yeah, I wonder how we should choosy the person to get this. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll think of something.
Pick and choosy.
We'll think of something creative out on the golf course today. But one of you lucky guys are going to be able, guys or gals, are going to be able to take home a Choosy for yourself. We're going to leave all the information for Choosy in the description box down below. Huge shout out to Sully for sponsoring today's episode, sponsoring the channel, sending us the goodies. And with that, let's jump on the golf course. All right, guys, so we are in what we like to call Shotgun Corner here on the Public Course Golf Podcast and the Mikey Polis YouTube channel. Or really just if we play golf, but
yeah.
Oh, we finally got somebody behind us. So, Shotgun Corner, neutral oranges.
Yep. First time. Neutrals. Those are good.
All right, so we've done Shotgun Corner for a long time, a couple of years.
Usually we do it on the back nine. Well, this is the back nine. But
It is, but we started.
Yeah, we started in the back nine. Usually we do it to kind of reinvigorate ourselves.
Go back a little bit more.
We usually do it to kind of reinvigorate ourselves because we've maybe had a few holes that are like, oh. But we started with the back nine today.
Yep.
We've been hitting our drives pretty well, so this is supposed to reinvigorate our short game.
So hopefully it works.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
But that neutral orange.
Yeah.
Wow. And we also got to give a quick shout out. Choosy. We got our, got him in there. Works awesome.
With Choosy, you can choose to do a shotgun, or you can choose to put it in there and just sip it. So, yep. All right, Mike. Grip it and rip it.
Oh boy.
I lost it, but
It's left side of the fairway. Maybe that first cut of the left side.
okay.
As you guys just saw, we just got finished up with a round out at Wedgwood. Beautiful day here in Minnesota to go play. Thought of some fresh slang terms. Plus, it just kind of got us in the mood for a little bit of golf talk.
Oh yeah.
It was a perfect Minnesota day to play.
Yes.
So it helped. We got our, as you guys saw, we got our Choosy, today's video sponsor. So shout out to Mr. Sully out in Maryland. We're going to leave all the information for Choosy down in the description box down below. On top of the fact that we have one. Look at this. What do you have here? Oh, what's that?
Yeah, it's a little surprise.
Sounds like there's a little something in there.
Yeah. What do you got in there?
What do we got in there? What do I got in mine?
Oh yeah, little Canada dips.
Ooh, peach Canada dips in the bottom.
Mint Canada dips right there.
Best ones in the game right there.
Yep.
So we actually have one of these we're going to give away.
Yes.
Which is going to be fun.
You know, we love to have these sponsors. You know, people contact us, we contact them. We're glad to have friends of the podcast. We know people watch this podcast. We want you to subscribe, to like, to comment. That interaction means everything to us. You know,
Yeah, I mean that drives
yeah.
this channel.
Yeah.
Is seeing
So,
you guys do that.
You know, for this free Choosy, we'd like to choosy somebody
Yeah.
who, you know, would subscribe to the podcast.
Who watches and is one of
Yeah.
those people that we have. I feel like we have a handful of pretty strong followers.
Yeah, perfect.
And we want to kind of reward people for being followers of the podcast.
Yeah, so if you are a new follower or if you're someone who's already been there, please comment in our comment box for this week's episode about your favorite public course. It could be something that we've played before, you've heard us talk about, something you've played. It could be a different state, whatever.
It could
you're
be
talking-
anywhere it is.
Yes, we love to learn about different public courses and to know what's great about them. So if you would leave a comment and say, you have to be a subscriber.
Yep.
You got to be somebody who's a part of it.
So there's
Yeah.
2 steps to this to win the Choosy. You got to subscribe to the podcast. So hit that subscribe button and then drop a comment on your favorite public golf course. It
And-
could be in Washington. It could be in New York. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere you want, and then we'll check that out and we'll award somebody.
And we'll let this
Yeah.
run for, we'll say, till next week's episode.
Yeah. Let's do
So
that.
for 1 week, 7 days, win this Choosy right here. We're going to verify that you're subscribed and that you dropped a comment. That's all
And
you got
if,
to
if
do.
you're not somebody who likes to try, you know, or does anything like Canada dips, or if you
or
chew tobacco,
snooze or tobacco.
if you
or
just want to put like, you could actually put like your ring in here.
It's
I
hard
was
to
thinking
golf
like
with
you
a
could,
ring.
like yeah,
It's hard to golf with a ring on.
yeah. It's like you could do that. It's like almost like a jewelry box. You can put your ring in here. So mine's in there.
That's
You never lose.
That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
I mean, you could put your watch in there probably almost.
Yeah.
Thinking about how thick it is, you could probably put, you could put a lot of different things in there. It wouldn't have to just be
Just
this
tobacco
kind of
or
stuff.
something.
It's kind of a nice place to store something without losing it.
But I
And
will
know-
admit-
you could even put some cash in here.
Yeah,
if
you
you
could.
if you were out like let's say you were at a concert, and you brought this to a concert.
That's
and
a great
And you
idea.
could instead of having all the stuff in your pockets, let's say
You
you're
wanna drop the
how many times
cash.
does your wife say, "I don't have any pockets. Here's the stuff." You could
Shove it
take
in here.
Yeah, take the cash, put it right in here, plug it right in there, and then you're good to go. So I think there's more to this little slot than just what it's meant for. So please consider commenting to try to win this, not just for the fact of what it's meant for, but what you could be creative with.
Yeah, I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Yep.
So yeah, 1 week, and then you guys can win your own Choosy.
Yes.
But we came up with some awesome slang terms today on the golf course. We had a perfect day, like we said.
Oh, right after
came
it
up
rained,
with
so everything was kind of fresh green.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We haven't had rain in what, 3 weeks? I mean, it's been crazy. We got a storm
Finally.
a couple days ago, but that was the first rain I think we had in.
Well, and Sunday was just rain. It wasn't storms that were spotty or scattered or isolated, whatever they say.
Yeah.
It was a consistent rain that kind of just was around southern Minnesota. Which
Oh,
is great.
God, that was so nice.
Which is so needed. I mean, my goodness. We around here we love that it's dry sometimes because that means we can play golf. It means we're
Mosquitoes aren't as bad,
Yeah.
but
at the same time we can't play when it's all like
just
green
dead
or,
and hard
like,
and
brown outside.
which
And then the courses, the people that do the groundskeeping, they can't. They're trying to water the grass best they can, but they can't.
no, that's
I
horrible.
mean,
It's
yeah.
not good for everybody. Crops,
Yeah.
being from the Midwest, this
Yes.
is obviously a big agricultural farming area. It's just it makes it really hard. But
Yeah.
One
So
other
we're
thing
glad-
you
we're
might
glad for
notice
that. Yep.
is it's a little bit different. Set number 3
Yeah, we
for us here at the podcast.
We stole a bar stool from our local bar. We
from the local
we stole
clubhouse.
from actually Wedgwood had these. We stole them.
So we took them. So
Yep.
thanks.
So hopefully they don't come after us. But actually,
No, we didn't.
No.
We bought this for the set. We bought a little pub table. Kind of feels like we're in a clubhouse after a round, which we want to make this feel like we're in the 19th hole.
Yep.
And yeah, got our flag in the back. We got our golf clubs up. This one's got a water ski up this time. Old water
Which
ski.
you might need when you go in the water because we hit it in the water.
Right? Then you water ski out
you
your
get
ball.
your ball and then you hit it from there and then
I like
your
that.
ball floats and
Right,
everything
exactly.
else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. So
So far,
Yeah.
you know, we're 7 minutes in. I really like this setup here because we got the table, we got
Yes.
the.
Yep.
I don't know. I
The
like it.
choosies. We're good to
So you
go.
have to let us know what you guys think. But we're gonna jump right in to this week's episode of slang terms. We have 1, 2, 3. We have 6 this week. Again, that's
Yeah.
what we had last week. So we got
Wow.
6 of them.
Yeah, it's my score on the first par 4 of the course. 6. That's where we get them from.
Right,
All
exactly.
we do is watch my shots for the first 6 shots, and we have our slang terms.
Then we're all good to go.
Yep.
So we're gonna jump right into it. This one came courtesy of your son Will.
Yeah, my son Will. And we were playing golf in Colorado which we're going to talk about later. But over the past couple of weeks, we went to Colorado. We played golf there, and I heard my son. He's been watching the podcast. He likes our public course golf rules.
Yeah,
Even when he'll say, "Oh yeah, reshot public course golf." It's like, oh, I love this because I can just get reshots all the time. But he said, "Run, Rudolph, run."
That's perfect. So number 1 this week is Run, Rudolph, Run. PJ, tell the people more about Run, Rudolph, Run.
Run, Rudolph. Well, I mean, we often coach our ball as it's doing what we want it to do, maybe not doing what we want it to do. But does it really matter what we say? I mean, the ball's already been struck. What it's going to do is what it's going to do. But it makes us feel better if we say, "Run, run, Rudolph." So we're trying to get that ball to go and try to get as far as it can, especially if it's a little short. Maybe it's approaching the green. You want that to hop over the frog hair, get into the fringe, even
Kinda
farther and
roll
roll on the
on.
green. So we're saying run, run, Rudolph, and then you almost will stay sit after that, but you get too carried away. But my son says run, run, Rudolph every time. So I think that's a great slang term.
I like it a lot.
Yeah,
That's
you know,
great.
it's from a song, so it works really well.
Right.
Yeah, Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I feel like one hole, maybe as if you guys have played golf before, you get holes, some are longer, some are shorter. But sometimes you get on one where all of a sudden it feels really long and you maybe think it's maybe a higher par than it is.
Yeah.
You get on one, you're like, wow, there's no way this is a par 4. But actually, in reality, it is a par 4. On the scorecard, it shows a par 4. But you think it should maybe be a par 5.
I'm gonna second that. I'm gonna play off this, but introduce the slang term.
So number 2 this week this is a par 5, right? So PJ, tell the people about this is a par 5, right?
Well, and slang terms can be slang phrases, and I think this is a perfect one because you say it as a joke almost. What Mike was saying here is like, okay, it seems like it's so long, it should be a par 5. But it could be that you just haven't hit the ball like you should.
Yep.
And you're probably going to get a bogey on it.
Yep.
And instead of approaching and being, up and down for par, you're up and down for bogey.
Yep.
It's like, it's a par 5, right? Almost like to confuse your partner to
Kind of
say,
hoping your partner goes,
yeah,
I think so.
it's a par. And then when they
it's a
get I got par, and you go back to the thing, you write down par, even though it
mean,
wasn't a
you
par.
think- yeah,
It was a
exactly.
5 out of a 4, Instead. So that happens a lot. I think people say, it's a par 5, right? And we've had a couple holes that are 400 and some odd yards, 420.
Well, there's one right here. There was, so this is a scorecard from Wedgwood from our round today. Let's see, that one is a 5. That one's 4.
It's like 418 or something, isn't it? Or
410.
410.
So
yeah.
hole number 9. It's the number 1 handicap on the hole. So the hardest, if you guys are unfamiliar with when we say that, golf courses will rank their holes that on a handicap
Easiest to...
level. 1 to 18,
Yeah.
easiest to hardest.
No, hardest.
Hardest. So
Yeah,
number,
one would be the hardest.
Yep, and 18 would be the easiest.
Yep.
So hole number 9 at Wedgwood is the number 1 handicap hole. It's a very hard. It's a par 4, 410
sand
yards.
and water on both on either side as you approach the green.
And then
so if you're like, typically our drive is like, you know, I mean, for you 260, maybe me 240, 230, and your second shot, you know, you're gonna have to use a pretty big shot to get there.
Yep.
But you got to be pretty accurate, because if you go one way or the other,
You got water left,
yeah,
sand right,
So
and it's a narrow run into the green.
yes.
And you had a great one today.
Well, I kind of just putted it hard with my 5-wood. I mean, it was just like one of those grass skimmers.
It's a little worm burner all the way in. It was perfect.
Yep. But you know, those kinds of holes, I mean, that's where you say to yourself, could that be a par 5? Because we've played par 5s that are easier than that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It might be a little bit longer, but they're easier.
I would even say 18. Let's see what's the handicap at 18. 8. So 18 is the middle of the road, but that's a 519 yard par 5 versus a 410 yard par 4. And I would say 18 is easier.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Because you can do, like today I had my 3-wood.
Yep.
Which will bring us right to slang term number 3 this week, which is Your Majesty. So PJ, tell the people about slang term number 3 this week, Your Majesty.
Well, you know, we both have daughters, and our daughters love princesses.
Yep.
And they all want to marry princes.
Yep.
And thankfully, their moms married princes.
Exactly.
So they have a great model, you know. So
Well, there you go.
You know, among other things, that's one of our
attributes.
We write it on our resumes.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you know, but once in a while you get a nice lie.
Oh.
And that lie puts that ball up on a pedestal.
And it's not like one that you fluff on your own, because
No.
we all do that.
Yeah, you're
All
not.
of a sudden you
Oh
kind
yeah,
of,
you know, I'm kind of in the rough, and my buddy's over there, and it's like, oh, I want to just kind of move it up towards.
kind of set it
some
up a
better,
little bit.
Yeah, set it up, kind of put it up on a little T almost, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is, I'm going to put the video on the screen right now. You'll see this was my shot on 18. And it literally was sitting up on a grass tee, if you will.
Yeah.
And just like it was overlooking its crowd.
It's peasants.
It's peasants.
And we decided to even make it be more, you know, pretend but realistic. We put other golf balls bowing
you see
down
it lower.
to Your Majesty, which is the ball sitting up high. And you knew with that second shot,
Oh my.
if I have it sitting up there, that's basically me teeing off again.
Yeah.
So
And that's what happened.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
with
yeah.
my 3-wood, I hit it. We figured kind of roughly with where we're at with our rangefinder. It's 289 yards with with my 3-wood.
Second
shot. So it was like,
honor Your Majesty lie.
yeah. I mean, that was
Yeah.
like a pipe dream, because technically, I guess technically it wasn't teed up, but it kind of was. And that was,
Well, we went to Disney World recently, and I'm telling you, on that shot, I almost saw fireworks from behind that shot, like I was looking at the Cinderella's castle. So truly, I thought to myself, do I need to bow down to Mike? But then I thought to myself, no, I won't do that. But
we won't do that, but
Yeah.
maybe.
And
That was almost a bow down worthy shot. Whether
So-
it was, if you had that shot, it'd be worthy of the same thing.
I don't know. He says that, but
Oh.
you know, you once in a while you're gonna have a shot where your lie is propped up right when you want it, and that's the Your Majesty shot. Right
You
there.
know what? You know what's not.
And you can't mess that up at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You turn into a jester. So on the flip side of that, you got ones where you're maybe kind of skirting with like Wedgwood is a link style golf course. If you guys don't know about link style, it's long grasses, weeds, kind of
Natural
set
grasses.
up natural grasses, prairie style. Not a lot of trees. There's only a couple holes with trees.
Yep.
But if you go off the fairway, you're into these natural native grasses.
And it's hard to find your ball, but you can still find it. But the grasses are thick,
It's hard.
and you can't hit out of them very well.
No.
Yeah. Yep.
So sometimes when you do that, you're kind of skipping along, maybe right on the edge of the rough or the weeds every time, every hole. Maybe you're doing a little living on the edge. That brings us to the next slang term, which is living on the edge. PJ, explain more about living on the edge.
Oh, man, it happened so many times today.
It happened
for
a
me.
lot today.
For you too. We
did.
both had it.
Yeah.
We're talking about these kind of barriers. You know, you play mini golf and you're right on the edge of the, like, whatever barrier on the side. If it's like wood or just like the side of the mini golf course, and you have to move. You get a club's length to move it out.
Yep.
Like that's so. But you know, for public course golf and real golf, you don't get to do that. So it's right there, almost out of bounds,
Yep.
almost in that crap.
Yep.
but you have to hit it out of there. And with your backswing, it's all hitting stuff as you come through.
And it's not an even swing through.
No.
It's so hard to get a level, even swing through to come back and back forward again to come
and
through
to get
and
underneath the ball and stuff. So how many times do we live on the edge? It's almost like at that point you say to yourself, I'd rather have a stroke penalty and I can move it out.
And then have an actually a
nice shot. Or do you say, no, I'm living on the edge and I'm going to just hit it from where it's at. But too many times, you know, we find with some yardage, you know, we play from the whites.
Yep.
But we often say, play from, what if we played from the back, like blacks, or we played from the blues or whatever and got a little farther back. We probably wouldn't live on the edge as much. So sometimes I think you start to outgrow your tee boxes.
Yeah.
And you live on the edge more because you're playing from too far up. We got to play with that a little bit because we've seen more living on the edge than we ever had before, I think.
Yeah. I think it'd be really fun to play back a tee. Whether we did blues at Wedgwood, the far tees or the black tees, then it's blues, then it's whites. Whites, I feel like, are the most common tees to play at any course. But I don't know how much different. It'd be really fun to see because I feel like you're going to have, you know, you're going to maybe not drive it as far, but it's going to open up your option for a bigger club for your second shot as your approach. So maybe
you're not living on the edge anymore. So your tee shot, you know, when some of these shots we've had where like there's rough or like the natural grass involved, like 250 yards out.
Yeah.
So we got to hope for a little bit shorter shot than we normally do, and that doesn't bounce so much, and then it's in a good spot, and then we can get over the net. I mean, if we were farther back, maybe that opens up our second shot.
Right, and it gives you that option. Maybe instead of a pitching wedge 9-iron from the edge of the stuff, you're talking 7-8 iron from the middle of the fairway.
Yep.
Or
and you
a shorter cut.
Might be better lie.
Yeah.
Maybe you even have your Majesty lie.
Right.
Yeah.
I think maybe our next round we're gonna try.
How about people who
tips? As they call it.
How about people who ever they change their tee boxes? We talked about that. Like on this hole we're gonna play from the whites. This hole we're gonna play from the black. Can you do that? What
Right.
What are the rules?
Actual USGA rule. I'm curious if you can flip.
I'm sure you can. If you can go back, if you choose to go back, are you actually just making it harder for yourself? So are you not penalized for that?
I would think you could,
but
like I
for me, like on a par 3, if I'm going back from 150 to 180, I love that because I can use my 5-wood.
Right.
So I mean, it's an advantage for me.
Versus, it's not like you're typically playing whites and all of a sudden you're like, oh, on this par 3, I'm gonna go play the reds, which is typically the ladies or seniors tee.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play the reds to take this water out of it. Like you're not doing that.
No, you're not trying to make it easier.
You're going backwards, which maybe makes it easier for that particular person.
But in general, does it make it easier for everybody? Otherwise, why would the blacks be more difficult?
Right.
So I think it's interesting to think about if you were to play what would our scores be?
Yeah, I think we should try maybe our next round. It'd be fun to play from the tips, whatever the color is. Again, at Wedgwood, it's black. It'd be really cool to see how we shot from there. Because you got yardage difference from the blacks at Wedgwood is 69.93. So just shy of 7,000 yards. From the whites, it's 62.61. So you're talking a difference of maybe 700 yards.
Okay.
Which I mean is, I think about 700 yards.
It's a Kirk Cousins regular season game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Justin Jefferson. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So it's not that far.
So I mean, that's not. You got 65.94 from the Blues. So you're really not talking much difference from.
But I think on a par 3 though, it makes more. I think on a par 3 or where there's more hazards involved, where it's at, that's where it comes to play. So that 700 yards doesn't matter. On paper, so that's not much longer. But if you are talking about in relationship to where you hit it and where those hazards are, it can make a world of difference. So I don't.
Well, here for example, hole number 3 at Wedgwood. That par 3 coming back from the whites is 162. So you're talking like I hit my 8-iron typically.
It's my 6-iron probably.
From the blacks, it's 181. So you're only talking 19 yards difference.
But for me, I use my 5-wood and I always make good contact. I don't have I have less of an error of contact compared to my irons because I just don't hit my irons.
So then you go your 7-iron to your 5-wood that you're probably going to be more comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, then 19 yards, that's not a huge difference
It isn't.
in
It's
a
just,
shot.
No, it isn't. It's just in your, in your psyche. So it's just interesting. I mean, maybe people have ideas about that. I'm sure we can look it up. We didn't look it up ahead of time because we didn't prep for that. But
Right.
to change your tee box throughout your round, as long as you're going farther back, is that allowed? Or if you do that, you just agree with your partner. I mean, that's kind of one of those public course golf rules where you say, you know what, we both like hitting farther back. We did that one time on that par 5. We both hit from farther back,
Yep.
and we both were right in the middle of the fairway then.
Yeah. Versus kind of pushing the water.
Yeah.
Where typically on this hole, it's one that you.
Is that a hole 4?
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because you could typically, if you stripe a drive, you could put it in the water, and you have a small window between pretty much two bodies of water. If you put it between it, you're great.
Yeah.
But you typically will go to the water on the right. And so we played back and set it right in the fairway. You still had a 3 wood. Is a difference of maybe 200 out versus 220, 230.
Because is the ultimate goal to play back farther? Is your goal as a golfer to eventually play from the farthest tees?
Right.
So you might as well practice when you can.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know?
I like that.
Or do you say to yourself, do some golfers say to themselves, it's a challenge for me to hit closer, so I'm going to choose intentionally to hit from the whites when I normally hit from the blacks, so I can work on this club choice.
Yeah,
on
because
this
you're
hole.
essentially going to club down.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good debate.
Yeah.
That's a really good debate. I'm wondering kind of where you guys lie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that. That's good. Mm-hmm. So today we started, there was league at Wedgwood, so we actually started
On
on
the
the
back
back nine, which was,
We haven't done that in a long time.
on paper, it didn't seem that weird.
No.
But then it was really weird as we started to get done with the back nine. We got to 14, 15, 16, 17. As we made that loop, that's kind of our favorite corner.
Yeah.
We finished it up. All of a sudden, we were like, oh, there's this brief feeling of like, oh, our round's almost done because we're on this corner.
We're so used to being done after the second 9.
Yeah,
You know?
and then all of a sudden we got back to the turn, and we were like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. We started on the back. We still have the front 9. Is this real life?
Yeah.
That brings us to slang term number 5 this week, which is this real life? PJ, tell the people about it.
How many times have you played golf when you finish your round and you're like, why aren't there more holes? Why can't we keep playing?
I want to keep going.
Now I have to go home. Now, whatever's going on.
Yeah.
Your golf was your oasis. You
Yeah.
had some time with your buddies. Why does this end?
Yeah.
Well, when you start on the back 9, it kind of plays with your brain and almost makes you feel like I got a bonus 9.
Right.
Even though it's my second 9.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is my, finished 18. I get you get to do 27 holes today. But actually, it's your second 9. So that bonus 9 is a really fun feeling. So, is this real life? Well, it becomes real life. And I found out today that, gosh, I wish I would play the front 9 like when I play it first. I had trouble playing it the second time, and that's okay. It's amazing how you get kind of in a flow of things. When you play a course a lot,
Yeah.
and you're used to like, okay, how I feel at hole 13, this is how I feel.
Yeah.
Well, now hole 13 is actually hole like 5.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, this is, a different feeling. This is
Yeah.
a different hole. But I think it's probably good that you do that though, because otherwise you get kind of you get stuck in a rut and your body's not ready for the challenge.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably good for you to play holes at different times in the round.
Yeah. Well, and
So,
we talked
yeah.
about that last week, where we were like, you get into maybe a groove on the course, and you don't necessarily have to think about the terrain of the course itself. You kind of do your shot, and you're able to think about other things and free your mind in other ways. But you also, on the flip side of that, the other argument is, do you get into this monotonous role where, I don't know, maybe on the skill side of golf, it's taking away from some of that, because you're kind of just doing, you're like, I know I'm going to end up with my drive on this hole, then I'm going to have my pitching wedge in, and I mean, you kind of get in that flow. So you can kind of look at it from both sides, where we made kind of the flip argument last week.
Yeah.
Where it's nice. You can just kind of let your mind go, let your mind wander, let everything free, and you can just kind of play because you know what is where on the golf course.
Yep.
But sometimes that could be a disadvantage.
Yeah, and it probably maybe it doesn't help you. Maybe it's an advantage for you, but doesn't help you in the long run. I was also thinking about, like, sometimes when you go and you do things with, you have a vacation planned, or and you go and you do something and you come home and it's not going right to your work. You have a little bit extra planned.
Yeah.
You go to a baseball game, or you're like, we still get to go to these people's houses and play, or go on the boat, or whatever. That's that extra little. Is this real life? Like,
Yeah.
a little extra bonus.
A little
round.
bonus vacation.
And it does really feel good to have that. And I think a lot of people, if I could plan out every vacation, I would say a vacation ends with a little mini vacation at the end.
Well,
So it's not like, boom, back to work. And I feel like that's how I felt after playing 9 in the back 9. And I
then
thought,
playing.
oh, I got more. Yeah. Yep.
I've heard this before from multiple people. It's you almost need a vacation from your vacation.
Yes.
You can't do a week vacation, come home, be done. You get back on Sunday, your
Yep.
flight lands, you drive home,
And you're
and then you go to
boom.
work.
Yeah.
You can't. You're exhausted.
Yes.
You almost need a vacation from your vacation, and that's kind of what starting on the alternate side of where you usually start. So at Wedgwood, we usually start on 1. We started on 10.
Yeah,
and I
you-
felt like an extra mini vacation.
Both of us thought that, and it made me feel like, both of us were like, this is really kind of nice.
It's a kind of a nice change of pace.
Then we got done with our front 9. We're like, we played the back 9, so we were ready to keep playing. But anyways, it was a good time. So,
It was great. I liked that a lot. It was kind of a fun
so if you
change
can do
of
that, if they make you do that, that's great. But if you can do that, switch things up, start on a different 9.
pace. It is crazy how much it throws you off. Even like, so we get, for example, these cheese beef sticks
Yes.
every single time at the turn.
Yes.
Every time. That's what we get. They're the best beef sticks we've had.
Yeah. Cheddar beef sticks. Oh my gosh.
And now this time
We got shorted one though.
We did. We got 5 instead of 6.
I
which is
didn't count,
ridiculous.
but we had to.
I wouldn't even have
split one.
thought to count.
We splitted one, so it's fine. I gave you the bigger half.
It worked out good. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, you're taller than me.
So right, yeah. So where was I going with that?
Well, we usually get those
so
from
we
the
were gonna
9
get
to
those
10.
on the turn, and we were gonna start off, and all of a sudden it was like I felt like we were going to 10. So I had ordered. I'm like, oh, we'll get the beef stick.
Right away you were gonna eat the beef sticks. I'm like,
Yeah.
should we get those at the turn? He's like, yeah, I guess we should. So the turn from 10 to or 18 to 1
Yeah,
instead of from
9 to 10.
Yeah.
It was super weird, but it was good. It was
Yeah.
it was a really fun day. So our bonus term this week happened on would have been hole number 18
yeah, it was
Right?
Yeah.
in
The front, yeah.
yeah, 'cause it was our
Yeah, it was our
first
front 9, yeah.
and it was
Yeah.
on that. So this happened with Paul Shot. We're gonna put the video on right now. He had hit it in the sand, fairway sand, so it's still 300 yards out, but it had hit.
Give me some better credit.
I mean, I think it was 200 yards out. And
It was still
had
at the tee
hit.
box.
It had hit and skipped and then hit. It's kind of like you're walking through the woods, maybe, and you see
When you see little footprints,
and you're like,
where does this lead? You keep following them. Like, what was going
what
on?
was in my backyard?
Is that a squirrel? Well, is that a deer? Squirrel's supposed to hibernate, aren't they? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like so.
And then it's not around.
Yeah.
A deer? Is it a deer? Is it a whatever?
The
I don't
grizzly
know.
bear?
Grizzly bear. Who's in
Who
my
knows?
yard? Look at the footprints. Well, it's amazing sometimes when you don't splash in the sand
Yeah.
and you kind of trickle in the sand.
And it kind of skips along, just like
Yes.
skipping a rock.
You can actually, it's almost like you're hunting.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I think here it is. Okay, here's one footprint.
Here's the next one.
Next one. There's the next one. And
And then I get a little closer, a little closer, a little closer.
there's one. Yeah, we found it.
There's
So
the
that's
ball.
like tracking the ball in the sand.
I feel like a hunting dog.
Tracking in golf, that's our 6th slang term. Tracking the ball in the sand. It's kind of fun to watch the path. You can even see that kind of on the green where if it hits, a big divot and then but you can't see the individual bounces or especially if the sand is kind of nicely groomed.
Well, if you have soft,
Yeah.
fluffy sand, it's
You
going
can
to kind
see
of
where
hit
the
and
ball
stick.
moves.
Like,
Yeah, and you can it's almost like you can't, when you hit the ball and that happens, you're not there to see what happens when it lands.
Right.
You can guess, but it's your chance to really see the trajectory and what happened when it landed.
Well, and what
Yeah.
was crazy, I feel like we saw on mine on 16, it like hit the backside of a bunker
Yeah.
going this way, and then it like hit and rolled backwards, which
Yes.
was crazy.
Yeah, and you can
But
see
then-
the little boops in the sand, little run. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then it was crazy where your shot looked like it hit the sand off the fly.
Yep.
You could see the puff on the fairway, but then all of a sudden it still skipped 15 feet to the other
Yeah,
side
you
of the
go
tee curve.
boom, and then it rolled.
Which it was just
Yeah.
that was wild.
Yeah, so we're just thinking about how that happens more often than not, and how when people when detectives and stuff want to figure out what happens in like crime scenes and stuff, you can tell where that ball's been. So
Yeah.
that ball's guilty if something along the line is, hey, you were here, we know.
We saw it.
Yeah, we saw it.
Saw your tracks,
Yeah,
pal.
that's right. Hey.
So before we jump into a little bit of Minnesota sports and golf talk, we just want to again say thank you to our today's video sponsor, The Choosy. Check out that link in the description box down below to be able to get yours, or you can just subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can comment your favorite public golf course, and you can get your own Choosy that we're going to give away. So huge shout out to Choosy for sponsoring today's episode, sponsoring the Public Course Golf Podcast, and now let's jump into a little bit. Look at that. You don't
Yeah.
even need to chew.
Yeah.
Let's jump into a little bit of Minnesota sports talk. All right, so if this is the first time watching one of our episodes, you know we like to do our slang terms, and then we do a little kind of golf, sports, national sports, but we always end up kind of honing a little bit to Minnesota.
Kind of a recap / opinion session. You know, we use other information we find, but we try to cultivate our own opinions, and we hope that this kind of fosters other thoughts from people who watch.
Yeah, exactly. So the big thing in golf this last weekend was talking kind of about Justin Thomas.
Yeah.
He's always been one of the top ones on the FedEx Cup. This year, he was sitting at 71. Top 70 for the FedEx. If you're in the FedEx race, the top 70 golfers are in a race for the FedEx Cup. Justin Thomas was sitting at 71. Typically, he's top 10, top 15.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of had a down year. And so this year, he had kind of a crazy shot on 17. It came down to 18. He was in 71st. If he birdied the 18th hole, he would then have flipped and made it to 70th in the FedEx Cup. He would have moved on to the next weekend. But he chipped in. He had a crazy second shot out of some pine straw and stuff on his second shot. Put it up just short of the green. Chipped for birdie, and it lipped out. It hit the flag. It bounced out. He fell to the ground. That was how essentially his golf season ended. Now he's not going on to the FedEx Cup. But that begs the question, do you put Justin Thomas on the U.S. Ryder Cup team? He's perennial. He's a strong player. He's a strong golfer. It kind of goes back to the same type of thing we talked about with like Byron Buxton, Joey Gallo. Are they on are they in your starting 9, starting 10 in October? Kind of the same type of thing. It's like, once they are out, so now Justin Thomas didn't make it, does then him playing for the Ryder Cup, does that give him that extra fire as if, like Buxton, here's the deal, Buck, we're sitting you down, we're going to put in Matt Wallner, who's been now shellacking the ball for the Twins. They did it. Buxton came back. His first 2 at-bats, after being out, being sat for essentially a whole series, his first 2 at-bats, he has 2 bombs against the White Sox. He's slumped again, and now he's hurt, so he's on the IL right now. But do you put Justin Thomas on your Ryder Cup team? Does him not making the FedEx Cup fire him up, or is he just having a down year? Do you leave him off?
Well, I was thinking like, how much does reputation matter in selection of, you can look at the Ryder Cup essentially as like an all-star team, right? I mean, isn't that really what it is? I mean,
it's pretty much the same team.
Yeah.
I would say that you're gonna, like right now, it's FIBA, the international basketball. So you got Team USA is gonna play, all the other teams, and now it's just Europe versus the US, but kind of the same concept.
So I guess you got to look at who you have, the amount of, all the, qualifiable people. I also think, though, what does reputation matter? And performance over time as opposed to one season. We've seen with golf where we both have experienced this ourselves. Not that we're professionals by any means, but where something goes well all of a sudden, then we get kind of on a roll.
Yeah.
Might have played terrible a little bit ago, All of a sudden,
down to your round, your front nine was terrible. You start to play well, then all of a sudden it really can spiral. And if you're a professional, that's all you're doing every day.
Yeah.
So where now, if you do that, like just think, even today, we'll say I would say my second nine was better than my front nine.
Yeah.
If I knew I was going to wake up and go play golf again, I'm going to carry that with me.
Yeah.
And hopefully carry that momentum over.
I guess you gotta think about. I think it does matter when it comes to Ryder Cup and with golf, that just because you've been playing well consistently doesn't mean you're always going to play well. Just like it means if you haven't been playing well, doesn't mean you're going to all of a sudden play well.
Right.
I think there's that more ebb and flow to it. I mean, granted, at the professional level, it's more of a even roller coaster. It's not like this so much.
Yeah.
So I would say that he should be considered. I do. But if he doesn't get picked, I guess I would understand why.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of indifferent on that. I'm indifferent on that, but I do think, though, in golf, is more than other sports, just because you've had some struggles in the past, if you've had more often than not successes, I think those should be looked at with high regard more than what that small mishap you've had, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think that brings to mind two golfers in particular. One being Tony Finau. I feel like he finished top 10. He had finished close to the top, but didn't win for a really long time. And then all of a sudden now, he won the 3M last year. Mm-hmm. Then right afterwards, he won the one, I think it's in Detroit. I mean, he won like 3 or 4 tournaments in a row. Kind of carried that momentum. The other golfer that comes to mind with that, where you can't look at a particular maybe year, but you look at their overall reputation, is Ricky Fowler.
Yeah.
Ricky's a perfect example. He was
having trouble before, and all of a sudden
1,400, 1,500 days without winning a tournament. Yet he's still, he's one of the best golfers in the world. I think you have to look at kind of the overall tenure of his golf. He's got to be in consideration. Yes, he's had a down year, but you have to at least think about him for the team. Mm-hmm. Just because he's perennially, he's a solid.
Well, golfer. You'd also hate to put somebody on there who just was having like a fluke all of a sudden, and then they go back to how they normally are.
And I think a great example of that is somebody who we talked about on a podcast earlier this year with Mr. Michael Block.
Yeah.
He had himself an absolute tournament. Mm-hmm. He was the talk of golf.
Remember we were talking about, we were asking him to be on the podcast. We're like, why can't Michael Block join us? And we were, really, really hoping that he'd be. We were singing his praises because he's representing all of us public course golfers. And
it was like the quintessential and it was down real quick. And he's still obviously a hell of a golfer, but I think he's the perfect example of he placed well at a tournament.
Yeah,
he's played okay this year. Do you ride that, or do you put somebody like Justin Thomas on the team, who typically is top 20 in the world?
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a good thing to raise. I also think on the NBA side of things, you see so much of those people that get voted in for the All-Star just based on their reputation. They didn't even play a lick of the season yet. Just on their
Paul
name.
George.
Yeah.
Last year.
So you see a lot of that. So it's like where's the happy medium with that? I think that's probably where we're at. What's the happy medium with selection based upon talent and performance of that year, and considering their reputation and what they've done in the past, and then what of that consideration, who's the best ones to put up. I think in some leagues they just vote on reputation only, and you'd leave out people who should be involved. So it's kind of one of those deals. Well, I'm sure the chips will fall where they should.
Yeah. And I think talking about the NBA, you look at that, like Paul George, I think he played 13 games the first half of the year last year. He was voted an all-star starter. He played 13 games. But then you have Anthony Edwards, who played out of his mind, who, by the way, according to Bleacher Report, is the number 1 talent under the age of 25 to build a franchise around. Mm-hmm. They did 5 honorable mentions. Scoot Henderson was on that list. Number 5 was John Morant. You had Tyrese Halliburton. Number 1 over Zion Williamson, even over Victor Wembanyama.
Oh, Wembanyama? Okay, yeah.
He, for obviously being for the Spurs, Ant is the number 1 player under the age of 25 that Bleacher Report voted to build a franchise around.
Yeah.
He didn't get the All-Star. He ended up being an All-Star as a reserve.
Yeah.
Essentially a
And
fill-in.
first pick for LeBron James.
Yeah, which it showed he should have
Yeah.
been an All-Star no matter what. But yeah, I think there needs to be kind of some accountability with that. You need to be able to play, for the NBA. I think you have to play X amount of games to be able to even qualify.
Yeah, and when you look at Anthony Edwards, you mentioned those other guys, and so Wembanyama might be the great talent, but he hasn't done nothing yet. Scoot Henderson, done nothing yet. John Morant, unbelievable player, but can't get out of trouble.
He can't stay out of his own way.
So, but Ant, even when they interview him, what are you going to do this season to be better? He talks about his other players.
Everybody else, hey,
Yeah.
Ant, you dropped 50 this game.
What are you going to do?
How do you feel about dropping 50?
I was glad to get, and I want to make Cat this year be the MVP.
I want to be MVP,
Yeah.
All-Star.
Yeah, I want to make these people these MVP. And if you have that mentality, we really hit the nail on the head with that draft with him.
That was
him
amazing.
and Jaden. That's awesome. And the Wolves better hang on to those people because I think nationally, we don't get a lot of good publicity.
No.
That's one of the things that we're going to get good publicity on. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like universally known that Ant is a great player and a great pick.
Yeah.
Universally, it was known that Kevin Garnett is awesome, a great pick, leader of the franchise, does all that he can to lead us basically by himself.
Which I just saw.
If you have those two kinds of players, you better say Ant, and people who have got that they got it right because all he's done in the league is work hard.
Yeah.
He's never demanded anything. He's never said, I need to get the ball. He's never pouted off the floor. When he gets benched, he never complains. You never hear him complaining to the press. He's very funny with the press. He's who he is, and he doesn't apologize for it. But he's not like being, like John Morant, getting in trouble. He's who he is, and he works hard. If you work hard, that's the recipe. If you're any rookie, look at Ant and how he came into the league.
Yeah.
What did he do? He worked hard. He makes his teammates better. He doesn't talk about himself. Boom. We picked up in Minnesota at
what a
Wedgewood golf course. We were like, is that a big moth or is that a
beer box
a beer
ran
box
over in
ran
the
over?
middle of the fairway.
We're like, what is that up there? Is it a dead egret? We're not sure what happened.
Couldn't tell what.
Yeah.
Denver Nuggets golf towel.
Yeah.
So whatever joker, and I'm sure it's not Nikola Jokic, but whatever joker has got a Denver Nuggets,
Here in Minnesota,
your golf
Yeah,
towel is back
yeah.
at Wedgewood, along with the person who left their
we did
56
pick it up.
Nike.
We did pick it up.
Because we're good people, we
Yes.
were going to leave it. We were going to burn it, throw it in the pond, throw it in the lake. But we figured maybe somebody's a big, even though you shouldn't be, maybe you're a big Nuggets guy. We don't want you to lose your towel.
No.
So we turned it into the clubhouse along with.
We did wipe all our clubs with it because we figured there's a lot of luck in that towel for us to be good. So we did wipe all our clubs with it. So
And I did have a heck of a second round. So
so maybe
it was
that's
from
what
that
it is.
Nuggets
So,
towel.
Yeah, why'd you give it back?
Should have kept it. I would have wrote Timberwolves over it though.
Yeah, you would have.
I would have. But thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Public Course Golf Podcast. Again, thank you to Choosy for sponsoring the episode and the podcast. Be sure to subscribe and drop your favorite public golf course down in the comment section down below to give you a chance to win your own Choosy, so you can either maybe store your tobacco, your candidates, your ring, your watch, your money, whatever it may be.
Exactly.
So if you dig today's episode, hit the thumbs up button. Hit the red subscribe button to not miss next week's episode. And if you want to click this little button right here, that'll subscribe to the channel. Or click this button, you can watch last week's podcast. And with that, we'll catch you guys next week. Bye!